عن أمير المؤمنين أبي حفص عمر بن الخطاب رضي الله عنه قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول إنما الأعمال بالنيات وإنما لكل امرئ ما نوى.
Because he seeks it from where it is possible to attain it.
Okay. The Shaykh mentions here, he says in the beginning, everything that is sought has a path that leads to it. Any objective that you have, to attain it, there's a path that you take. So if you take a physical example, you want to go to Mecca for Hajj. There's a way of getting there, right? Now, how do you get to there? Nowadays, you book planes and so on, or if you want to get to a destination, you just use Waze or Google Maps. But especially back in the day, what would you do? You would ask somebody who's been, who knows, right, can tell you the details, somebody knowledgeable, and they tell you what path to take, what not to do, what obstacles to stay away from, and they tell you everything. So likewise in seeking knowledge, there's a path that has to be taken, right? That's what this whole thing of adabu talib ilm is what we are alluding to. There's a path, there's a way, and we have to tread that path. And that path are these adab. But in this particular principle, the Shaykh mentions two things. And he's mentioned these lines of poetry, and these lines of poetry have two things in there, and these are very, very important. Okay? So he's going to explain these lines of poetry now, and he's going to mention the two things. Read the first one.
The first affair is memorizing a comprehensive text with the most correct opinion. So it is a must to memorize. And whoever thinks they will attain knowledge without memorizing, then he is seeking the impossible. The text that is memorized is the one that is comprehensive and inclusive to the most correct opinion, meaning the one that is widely entrusted by the people of knowledge.
Okay, so when you're studying, he says two things. Firstly, memorizing a comprehensive text with the most correct opinion. Other terms, memorizing books. Not just understanding them, memorizing them. For knowledge, you need three things. You need memorization, you need understanding, you need action. Knowledge, understanding, memorization, understanding, action. And that's how the Sahaba were. Abu Abdurrahman al-Sulami, as narrated in Ahmad, he said that the Sahaba that used to teach us the Qur'an, and he mentioned Uthman and Ibn Mas'ud, they would memorize 10 ayat. That's the memorization. Then they would stop and understand those 10 ayat. And then they would act upon it, and then they would move on to the next 10 ayat. So Abu Abdurrahman, he said, فَتَعَلَّمْنَا الْعِلْمَ وَالْعَمَلَ جَمِيعًا. That way we learn knowledge and action together. So what would they do? Memorization, understanding, action, and then move on. So you need these three things. So from the things the Shaykh mentioned here is memorizing text. What do we memorize? Primarily it's the Qur'an. After the Qur'an you memorize hadith. And then you also memorize, what the Shaykh is referring to here, is in each science there are certain texts, certain books which are considered the main books in that science. That if you memorize that book, everything else in that science, in that subject, revolves around that book. So if you memorize that, and then you understand it correctly, right, that's your foundation for that whole topic. For example, yeah, if you just memorize إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, any question that can come to you, a good 100 different questions come to you, right, your answer is just إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Okay, I came at Fajr time, I prayed 2 raka'at, right? Are those 2 raka'at the 2 sunnah or the actual Fajr itself? So what was your intention? Was it the 2 of Fajr or was it Fajr itself? Oh no, my intention was the sunnah of Fajr. خلاص إنما الأعمال بالنيات, so that's what it's considered. Or I had a shower I had a shower in the morning before Jum'ah, but I forgot that it was Friday. So does it count as a sunnah? So your intention was just normal shower, so no, it doesn't. إنما الأعمال بالنيات. Or I said to my wife that go back to your family's house, and what I meant by that was a divorce. إنما الأعمال بالنيات. That's said a lot more, especially in the Arab countries. Right? Go back to your mom's house, meaning I don't want you anymore. Right? So in divorce, words which are unclear goes back to the intention of the person. If it's a clear wording, if you say I divorce you, that's divorce, no matter the intention. But look, all these three questions that have come, I've answered them with what? Same hadith. إنما الأعمال بالنيات. So you can see, memorization is important. It's not everything. You need to have a balance, but you need to have memorization. Okay, now, you have a question? No, you elaborate. Okay, right. Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah, he said, حَفِظْنَا قَلِيلًا وَقَرَأْنَا كَثِيرًا. We memorized a little, but we read a lot. This statement comes later in the book as well, I think page 58. He says, حَفِظْنَا قَلِيلًا وَقَرَأْنَا كَثِيرًا. We memorized a little, but we read a lot. فَانْتَفَعْنَا بِمَا حَفِظْنَا أَكْثَرَ مِنْ انْتِفَاعِنَا بِمَا قَرَأْنَا. We benefited more from what we memorized than what we read. When you read, you forget easily. But if you memorize and you keep that as your foundation, and then yes, you have to understand it on top of that, then that's true knowledge. How many times do you ask a scholar a question, he gives you the answer straight away? If he didn't memorize anything, he wouldn't be able to give you the answer. So you need to memorize. And in each science, there are a number of books which the ulama have advised of which ones you should memorize and so on. Inshallah, as we go through the books, I'll mention to you which ones you should memorize. If you don't memorize them, especially at this stage, it's okay. Like if you're finding it difficult. But if you truly have high aspirations and you want to, then you should start memorizing them. Like if the first one you want to memorize is the next book, Usul al-Thalatha, you can start memorizing that. And Aqwal al-Arba. If you want to start memorizing, you can start memorizing those books, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. So that's the first thing he's talking about, memorization. Obviously, ideally, the first thing to memorize is the Qur'an. That's what the Salaf were. You came to them without memorizing the Qur'an, they would tell you to go memorize the Qur'an. Then when you come back, that's when they would teach you. Otherwise, they wouldn't teach you. But it can be hard. So if not, then maybe some of the small books that take a month or two just to learn, you could start off with them. Number 2.
As for the second affair, taking it upon a beneficial and sincere teacher. So you go to a teacher that will make you understand its meanings and who is distinguished with the following 2 descriptions.
So the second is to have a teacher. That's very important. Right? What it seems like the Shaykh is mentioning, because he's titled it, Taking the Correct Path. What it seems like is that the 2 things he mentions are actually things that students neglect. That's why he's mentioned these 2 specifically. No one memorizes, right? Those that say, I'm Ahlul Hadith, right? Narrate Hadith, you can't narrate any Hadith, even the simple books, right? Quran, not memorizing Quran. And number 2, not studying with a teacher. It's all self-study nowadays, right? Which is fine, there's an element of seeking knowledge when it comes to self-study, but especially in the beginning, even later on, you need a teacher to guide you. Otherwise, you start making mistakes that, and if you show to the ulama, they'll laugh at you. Like, it's only some of the mistakes you hear that some people make. There's one, you might have seen the video, quite viral. Shaykh Usaimi doesn't really laugh, but this made him laugh. Where he said that there was a guy, he was an engineer originally, and then he tried to talk about Islamic sciences. He's tried to talk about things which isn't his field. So he came out saying, there's no such thing, nobody is called Muhammad ibn Ismail al-Bukhari. Rather, his name is Jum'a Bukhari. All of you have made a mistake. His name is Jum'a Bukhari. How did he come to that conclusion? On the front of Sahih Bukhari, obviously Bukhari, what has he done? He's not made the hadith up, he's compiled the hadith. How do you say compiled hadith in Arabic? Jama'ahu al-Bukhari. It's been compiled by Bukhari. He's read it instead of Jama'ahu as Jum'a Bukhari. His name is Jum'a Bukhari. Right? And he thought he did something, but in reality, he made a laughing stock of himself. Right? So you need a teacher. And you need to stick to a teacher and always seek guidance from a teacher. But that teacher can't be anyone, any random person. Just because he's got followers doesn't mean he's your teacher. Just because he speaks well doesn't mean he's a teacher that you should take. The teacher needs to have certain qualities. Abdullah, just because of time, because it's needed Maghrib, I'm just going to read the rest of this chapter, inshallah. Firstly, beneficial, meaning that he is qualified. Okay? So circle that word or underline that word, qualified. Qualified means that he's somebody who's actually gone and studied. He's gone, he's traveled, he's memorized, he's studied with scholars, and also is recommended, if scholars have recommended that you should study from this person, that his teacher said yes, he can teach. Right? It's not just somebody that gone and sat in like a random lecture and said, oh yeah, I'm a student, I'm teaching. Like he's actually gone, sat with the scholars, memorized, they've been tested, the scholars know him, and he studied for a number of years. Right? That's the person who is qualified. If you go down, there's a hadith. The Prophet said, تَسْمَعُونَ وَيُسْمَعُ مِنْكُمْ وَيُسْمَعُ مِمَّنْ سَمِعَ مِنْكُمْ. The Prophet said to the Sahaba that you are hearing from me, and then people will hear from you, and then people will hear from those that have heard from you. Meaning, I'm narrating it to you, you're going to narrate it to the tabi'een, they're going to narrate it to those after them. And knowledge in Islam continues through this chain of narration, through this sanad. So likewise now, you need to study from someone who has studied from someone, not somebody who self-studied. So the person needs to be qualified. Huh? Sorry? Ask me after, not now. The second quality that the teacher needs, if you go to the next page, is being sincere. And what it means by being sincere is 2 things. Because the word sincere, in English is not the best translation. The word nasih in Arabic has a very vast meaning. The Shaykh includes a number of things. Basically what this means is that he's somebody who is suitable for you to follow. Because he wants what's best for you. Not what's best for himself, That, oh, by him teaching you, he's going to get his name out there. No, best for you. He teaches what you need, not what you want. So a lot of people want certain things, right? But it doesn't mean it's best for you. Your child wants to eat this and eat that, put everything in their mouth, and right? You know, babies are, put everything in their mouth. But is that what they need? No, it can harm them. Also, they're sincere. What comes under that is that they know how to teach as well. Right? Just because you're knowledgeable doesn't necessarily mean they know how to teach. Right? So the teacher needs to know how to teach. And what's most important as well is that he's suitable in his aqeedah, in his beliefs, and in his character, in his conduct, and his muru'ah. Muru'ah is a word which we're going to take next time, inshallah. Okay? If all of these things that I mentioned is not found in a teacher, then that is not a suitable teacher for you to take knowledge from. So it's not enough for a person just to be knowledgeable. He has to be suitable. He has to uphold the sacredness of that knowledge that he has learned. So if you find somebody who's memorized Bukhari, for example, but then he's clean shaven, for example, and he speaks like a roadman, and he is getting the qaza' haircuts left, right and center, that's not a person who should take knowledge from, without any doubt. The discussion isn't, is qaza' halal, haram, makruh. That's not the discussion. Is he somebody befitting for you to take knowledge from? No, he's not. In hadith, those who have studied hadith know that from the conditions for a hadith to be accepted is that narrator has to be trustworthy. For somebody to be considered trustworthy, there's a checklist. From that checklist is having muru'ah. If a person does not have this muru'ah, he's not suitable for you to take knowledge from, the hadith will not be sahih. The hadith, the ulama will reject it. Even if he is trustworthy, he doesn't lie, because of the fact that he's not suitable to take knowledge from, it's not considered a sahih hadith. And inshallah, the concept of muru'ah, a whole separate chapter is going to come on it next time, inshallah. So the summary of this principle over here is that you need to memorize, if you're able to do so. If not, at least constantly go over the knowledge again and again so it's engraved in your mind. And number two, stick to a teacher that you have. And that teacher has to be someone qualified and somebody who's suitable for you to take knowledge from the aqeedah, from the manhaj, from the akhlaq, and so on. So inshallah we'll stop here today. Alhamdulillah, we did decent. I wanted to get minimum up to 5. The remaining 15 are a lot shorter, and inshallah we can go through it a lot quicker, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. Just before we finish, the number of questions, I'll just take the questions, inshallah. Can you please advise how to schedule your time in seeking knowledge? I mean, it's a long answer, but just a very short answer is everyone knows their own time. So you need to be strict with yourselves, that this is the time I'm going to do this. If you can get a partner to help you, right, that you're going to do something together and push you, like you go gym, you have gym partners, right? And that'll be good. Or you have a teacher and you know you've got an exam, someone to push you, then that is also something which is good as well. But as we mentioned in the aspirations, don't overburden yourself. Don't overburden yourself. Stick to something little, but be consistent upon that. Answer that question. If you have wiswas in wudu, the ulama say ignore it. If you know that you have wiswas, you just ignore it. Don't do it again. You do it again, you'll be sinning. You've done it once, it doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. If you have wiswas, you ignore it and you carry on. Wiswas, whispers from shaitan. Okay, some questions are long, so I don't have time to answer them. Some we have answered, so. What's the meaning of the word yaltamisu in man salaka tariqan? What's the root word? It's from the word iltamasa. Iltamasa yaltamisu iltimasan, which means to go out, to strive, to seek something. Please recommend books for beginners to improve the Arabic. If it's complete beginners, then either Medina book series or Arabiyyah Benedict series. And stick to one, find a teacher and just complete it. If you mean general Arabic books, then Sheikh Fawzan's books are very good. He's very, very easy the way he explains, and you can find any topic for that as well. Alhamdulillah, with that, inshallah, we'll conclude today's session. Next session is next month on Sunday the 20th. Yeah, Sunday the 20th. And inshallah, we'll complete the book بإذن الله تعالى next month. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.